Hello and welcome to Beyond the Ordinary. Today I'm going to be looking at 6 books by Edward W Robertson. The first 3 are the Cycle of Arawn, and the second 3 are the first 3 of, I think so far, 5 books of the Cycle of Galand. Now, these books were all recommended to me when I first started this channel by Ian Collar. He said, and I'll dig up his recommendation and post it in a second, something like, this is Wheel of Time done properly. He certainly started the right tack, because he, like me, doesn't think the Wheel of Time is particularly good. So I then had to read these books, and these are 6 fairly meaty books. Each of them, I think, took longer than a day to read, so that suggests that they are a substantial number of pages per book. I didn't look into exact details. Given that I tend to read things on Kindle rather than in paper, it doesn't really make a lot of difference what the number of pages it says, because it all depends on font size, etc. But yeah, they're meaty, they take a time to read. All of these books deal with essentially 2 people and then their interactions with various societies. You have Dante Galand and Blaise, I can't remember what his other name is. Dante and Blaise meet when they are both teenagers. Dante very early turns into a necromancer, which is a bit like a necromancer in that he can sort of raise the dead and have zombies working for him, zombie animals generally. But he's also able to heal with those powers, he's able to grow things with those powers, and grow things rapidly, and various other things. Dig holes, lots of different skills, and these skills increase as the books go on. And then you've got Blaise, who is, at the start of the books, very much a fighter first, and doesn't have any special powers. These books are set in a world where, at the start, we're dealing with 2 nations. There's many more nations. Much of the world is viewed over later books, but we're starting off with where Galand and Blaise met, and that is a society where the scriptures are very pro 11 out of the 12 gods, and very anti one other god, that one being Arawn, and another society which are very pro Arawn and don't care much about the other gods. So obviously there has been conflict in the past. In fact, you learn that there has been 3 major battles causing many problems for the followers of Arawn, and the books start when essentially the 4th potential conflict is underway, or just starting, I think you could say. And how Dante and Blaise are thrown into this potential conflict. Clearly, as Arawn is associated with necromancers, Dante is going to be favouring the Arawn side of things. The Cycle of Arawn is a book similar in a ways to a Bible, but the one he gets is one of the original copies of the books, and that's capable of making somebody a necromancer, or a better necromancer if they already were, had good potential to be a necromancer. So that's how comes his powers appear early on in the book and grow over the next 3 books. On the other side of things, the other society has ethermancers, and whereas necromancy is associated with black and death, ethermancy is, I say, sort of a counterpoint to it, in that whilst it's associated with white and is probably more associated with life than ethermancy is, necromancy, however you pronounce them, they're not two sides of the same coin, as in one is in conflict always with the other one, but more that they both cover the same sets of abilities in different ways. And being good at ethermancy lets you do some things, being good at nethermancy lets you do other things. Being good at one helps to negate somebody who is using the other on you, and so on and so forth. So there is added potential for conflict. You've got religious conflict, you've got power conflict in the different skill sets, and you've probably got a whole load of other conflicts caused by the leaders of the two societies. And in the first book, Dante and Blaise are given a mission to kill the leader of the Arawn society, who is causing the build-up and conflict and possible destruction of two countries. So that's what they set out to do. Now, I'm not going to go too much further into the plots, because whilst when you look at the 6 books, they look at let me think, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 different societies, and maybe several more than that I've not thought about as I'm just going through them in my head. They look at different powers that are available to the nethermancers and ethermancers, and sort of where they come from and what can be done with them more. They look at the societal conflicts and how it's dealt with. They look at things such as slavery and dealing with that. They look at what happens when you're helping a society that isn't your own, and how they might have different goals than you do. All sorts of things like that. So these books are interesting in the scope of what they cover. The world building is good. Essentially only dealing with 2 races you're dealing with are humans or what is slightly bigger humans. The description doesn't really say they're not human, it just says they're on average about 1.5 feet taller than everybody else, and that their society is very different from the rest of human society. There's no aliens that we deal with at any point. There's lots of depth to these books. Are they better than Wheel of Time? Well, in my opinion, it wouldn't take much, but yes, they are much better than Wheel of Time. One of the things that I did find was that if I put these books down, I didn't immediately have to pick them up and carry on reading. So they are not as gripping as some stories. I would not rate them anywhere near as gripping a set of books as, say, something by Brent Weeks, which I think are fantastic, by the way, if you didn't know that already. But they are good. And whilst I haven't read the last 2 Galand books, I will probably go back and read them at a later date. I just went through a rather massive binge on some other books, which you'll hear about in other vlogs, and because of that I put those books aside for a while. I would rate these books between a 7.5 and an 8 out of 10. They're pretty good, they're pretty well written, they're just not quite gripping enough for me, but otherwise they've got a lot to recommend them. Hope that's been useful. My name's Nigel, this has been Beyond the Ordinary. Thank you for watching.